This is Creepy and Geeky. Welcome to Creepy and Geeky. I'm your host, Robert, and on this special bonus episode, I'm talking to Melissa LaMartina, the director of the new film For Sale by Exorcist. Welcome to the show, Melissa.
Thank you, Robert. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. This was a very fun movie. I just got done watching it, and it's a lot of fun, very funny. I know it was co-written by, I'm assuming your husband, Chris LaMartina.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, and he had previously written and directed the WNUF Halloween special,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
so I know he's got quite the pedigree there, especially in the
Mhm.
independent film world. Um, so yeah, so this is interesting. This is it looked like your first major kind of directorial thing.
Yeah, first time directing a film. I'd
Okay.
previously directed a lot of theater. I got my start in theater as an actor and then as a director and producer and designer, and then got into the film world actually when I met Chris.
Okay.
I auditioned for Call Girl of Cthulhu and got the title role in that movie, and then he and I started spending more time together, and here we are over a decade later together and making all kinds of different projects and stuff. So, but yeah, my first feature directing. So really exciting milestone for
That's
sure.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's exciting. It's very well done too. I really really thought it was for an independent small feature, it's very well done.
Thank you.
I liked it a lot.
I like a lot
It's
of qualifiers there.
no. I didn't mean it that way, but I guess
No,
no,
thank
but
you so much. No, I
just
do
in
appreciate
general,
that.
like, see, I'm a horror comedy person. I really
Oh,
love
yeah.
horror comedies.
Hmm.
And so when it's well done, I think that it means a lot more.
Yeah.
Like, and so I really appreciated this. I got a good like some good laughs out of it, and really enjoyed the performances and stuff like, because especially for like when you think of independent films and stuff like that, some can be good, some can be bad. And I think that there's a lot that you guys did right with this movie, and it really worked really well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Um, so the story is about a woman who is a real estate agent who sells haunted houses, or previously haunted houses.
Yes.
Her part of her job is to help exorcise
Mhm.
the spirits until it kind of comes back to bite her in the butt when she decides she wants to have her forever home.
Yes, that's
So
right. That's right.
yeah, I think the ending is is interesting. Definitely was. I didn't see it. I didn't see that ending coming, but like
It
it's
took a
very
while.
much. Yeah, no, but it's a very good. I really liked it. It was more interesting than I thought. Like kind of how I saw it going.
Yeah,
So
sure, sure.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm not sure like if you ask somebody to guess like where's this gonna go, that they would land on that
yeah,
necessarily.
exactly.
Right, right. Yeah. And it's like it's funny because it's like we kind of I like pushing the bounds of just like ridiculousness and just being like, okay, well now this is what you're watching. I don't want to give
Right.
anything away because I feel like
Yeah.
it is a really fun, like there's a sense of discovery to it.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
I love watching it with people who haven't seen it before and just it's fun. It's like it's truly enjoyable. I feel like it is like delightful,
Right.
to go on an unexpected road like
Right.
that.
And I like that you did it in the mockumentary style too. I think that helps it a lot rather than just being like a regular narrative. I think especially if you would have taken it maybe too seriously. And it's also not overly like it's not overly schlocky. Um, which was good too. Like it takes itself seriously just enough and also doesn't go too far into, like, it's campy, but it's not too campy. So
Yeah,
there's a fine
yeah.
line. There's a fine line,
Yeah,
is what
oh
I'm
my
saying.
gosh,
Yeah,
absolutely. Like it is like a tightrope basically. But
right,
yeah, I think like, I wanted it to feel real. I
right,
wanted to maintain the illusion that you're watching a documentary. So I did want it to feel like these people, as ridiculous as they are human beings, you know.
right.
So that campiness, and I took a lot of inspiration from Christopher Guest movies for that
Yeah,
sort of balance of like his characters are absolutely ridiculous,
right. Yeah,
but
but they're
they
set in this
all,
real world setting that
yeah,
kind of
and
balances it
they
out.
all
Yeah,
play them. Yeah, they play them also so seriously,
right.
like I am
Yeah,
a real person and this is
right,
how I'm feeling. This is how this person actually reacts in this world. And the comedy comes from that rather
right.
than kind of a nudgy, like, oh, well, look at this weirdo I'm playing,
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
that was something that I wanted to maintain as well.
Well, I think that's what I think, with the Christopher Guest movies is that those characters are as much as they're weird and everything like that, everybody knows people who are like that. And I think that's what worked well with your movie as well, too, is that there was nobody really outside the real norm in
Mm.
this. Um, maybe Lucian and Cassandra.
Yeah.
Um, but even then, I mean, I've seen people like that. So I've met people like that. So I mean, it does make sense. But yeah, that's what was fun about the movie is it just definitely had this very real aspect to it where it didn't go too far over the top, where it was making fun of the genre in a way, like it wasn't parody.
No, no, no,
Which
no.
I really liked. Yeah. And I'm not a big fan of parody. Um,
Yeah.
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 So um I did find out when looking about you because I was trying to like find out more about you as a person, that you have been playing a character named Aurora Borealis for a long time, and
Yes.
very much a similar vibe to Elvira.
Mhm.
And I am a huge Elvira
Oh,
fan,
look at that.
so
Yes.
I will do a quick pan real quick, show you this real quick. Oh, wrong way. There's a
Oh my gosh,
little
yes.
wall
You
there.
have a lot. Oh yeah, look at
Yeah.
that.
And
Amazing.
then the other side.
Yes.
So
There
I'm a
it is.
huge Elvira fan.
Yes,
So
yes.
I just found out that about you, and now I'm gonna have to check out more of your work as Aurora. Um,
Yeah, please do. Yeah, I mean, she's obviously a huge, huge inspiration,
yeah,
and that's such a fun project. I've been doing that since 2017, I think. I started it as a live show
yeah, I saw
at
that. I
a
saw like an
local
ad for
bar and
that. Yeah,
restaurant. Yeah, so I was doing this show once a month, which was insane. Like because we were showing a movie and then doing segments with games and like all this kind of interactive stuff. And obviously when the pandemic hit,
yeah.
we were like, well, we're doing these live shows. So I had a show scheduled for that March when everything started shutting down. And I was like, okay, I guess we'll live stream it. And we have a little set in the basement that's
Yeah.
kind of my little, castle or whatever. And um, yeah, we just live streamed, quickly found out how good Facebook's robots are at identifying when you're showing an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark without, having the rights to do so. So
Right.
stream got cut down a lot. So we ended up taking it down a road where these monthly shows that I was live streaming, we used it as an opportunity to give a platform to small films,
Mm,
independent
yeah.
filmmakers. We reach out to friends who would allow us to show the movies and stream them and
Oh, that's
still.
such a great way to do that too. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it ended up being like a really cool evolution of it. I put out a DVD,
I
so
saw
that's
that.
really fun,
Yeah.
kind of like a party tape. During the pandemic, also every Sunday, I would get an Aurora drag and I would just read. I called it Aurora's Bedtime Stories, and I would live stream just reading for a couple of hours, and people would tune in. Um, I've been doing a lot of stuff for Terror Vision, for
Okay.
their releases, for like their Blu-ray releases. So they'll put out movies and I'll be a special bonus feature where I do a wraparound kind of thing, very similar to Elvira. I make a cocktail and a mocktail in each one and do little segments and skits and stuff. It's a lot of fun. It's like taking
That's
on a life.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah, it's
That's
super
very
fun.
cool. Yeah. So being that, saying that was the name of Cassandra in the movie, was that inspired by Cassandra Peterson herself?
I know. So Chris always every time he writes a script, all of his characters are nods to something.
Yeah, there was a
So
lot of horror names in this. I noticed that.
yes, and he
Yeah,
does that consistently. So
yeah.
I'm not sure if that one is her or someone else, but
Right.
it's definitely somebody.
So, how much input did you have in the script when making this?
So Chris first wrote this 2017, which was when I started Aurora 2. He was doing this chat personal challenge of like writing a certain number of scripts like
Right,
throughout the year. So he wrote it and then it just kind of sat. He was trying to write scripts specifically to sell them at that point.
right,
So at the same time, he was already on Dred's radar because of WNUF Halloween special and some of his other work. He's been operating in that world for a while. And it was one of those like, hey, when the right project happens, we'll get together kind of a thing.
right,
So flash forward a little bit, they were lining stuff up to do 6 movies in Maryland. And this was the opportunity for us to get on board with that. They don't typically do horror comedies. Like Dread really does a lot more straight horror than horror
right.
comedy.
Yeah,
So it was really interesting when they decided this was the one they wanted to go with from us because we had sent them a couple scripts. So Chris had it sitting. We got our budget. We got, what they wanted production to look like. And he and I were staying in a hotel for a month at the time. This was 2 Januaries ago because we were having our kitchen renovated.
oh,
So
okay,
we would go down to like the little happy hour at the hotel and read the script together. And we ended up cutting a lot of stuff. So I had a little bit of a role in that with deciding once we knew it was being produced some
right,
stuff. We did a little bit of like character stuff back and forth with like punching up lines. And then, of course, his co-writer, Rob Walker, added a lot of like really funny stuff too. He's written for Hard Times and like, is a comedy writer. Um, so yeah, yeah. So it was cool because I did get to give a little bit of input there as we were ramping into production, which really helped me start getting into the heads of those characters and being able to
right.
like give a little finesse of like, oh, I think like I can picture this person saying something more like this. So it was cool. It was a cool process. Yeah.
Were you already going to be the director for it at that time?
Yeah, yeah. So
Okay,
we had talked about because of my background in theater and my background as an actor, and this being more so than a lot of Chris's other work, a very performance driven, very like performance centered movie. We
right,
started talking about just like that my particular skill set as a director would be really well suited to that, like considering the style that we wanted to do it in and like
right.
the kind of performances we were looking for.
All right. Yeah, no, it turned out really well. I think for a debut, it's a very, very good job.
Thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I dig that Dread picked it up. I haven't, to be honest, I haven't watched a lot of Dread in a little while. But
Mhm.
I just did recently watch the new one, Bystanders.
Oh yeah, Mary Beth's
And
movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then I had
Mhm.
talked to Jamie Alvey for the podcast as well.
Oh,
So
okay, great.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it was really cool to get a chance to check this one out and to you know get to talk to you about it.
Yeah, great.
Um so I'm trying to think of another good question to go in this area. Emily Klassen, she plays the lead. Um she's so funny in this. Is that her actual accent or is that a
It's
performance?
adjacent to her actual accent.
Okay. All right.
So she's from Louisiana, but
Okay.
she set Susan as being from another city. So she
Right.
was like, I feel like Susan would be like this is her voice. But it was funny because there would be times when we'd be shooting and she would slip back into Emily. It didn't happen often, but there were a
Right.
couple times where we'd start a scene and I'd have to say, okay, we'll cut. Okay, Emily, you sound like Emily. You don't sound like Susan. You gotta like nudge it over a little
Right.
bit. So
No,
yeah.
she's great in this. It's so
Oh,
fun. Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
she's
yeah.
hilarious. And she does like I don't know how much work she's done and everything like that, but she's, so funny in this that, it's just obviously I did see she'd been in other things,
Hmm.
quite a few other things. But
Yeah, yeah. And she and I met her through doing theater. We had acted
oh,
together
okay.
in theater, and
Yeah.
then we cast her in the sequel to WNUF, the Out There Halloween Mega Tape. So she's in
Oh,
that.
okay.
Yeah, and
That's
then when
awesome.
When we knew this was being made, we were like, it's got to be Emily. The accent's already there. She's so funny, you know. And we needed someone who, I mean, could carry a movie, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, because
With
it's largely just on her.
yeah.
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 And especially at this budget level, like that can be really challenging to find
Yeah.
someone who has the acting chops and then is willing to like work at this level, you
Yeah.
know? And someone too, like it was really important that like you fall in love with her
Yeah.
instantly, you know, that
Yeah.
like charming. So not only a really fantastic actor, but someone who you immediately are invested in, you know, was
Yeah.
really important,
Yeah.
you
No,
know?
she's adorable in the movie. So, it's just it's a really fun, great performance. You and Chris get to play a couple of characters in there as well.
We do.
It's a very wild segment, the succubus segment.
It's utter chaos. And it's funny because, like, you know, we're in the middle of filming that scene. It's like one of the most chaotic scenes in the movie.
Right.
You know, if not the most, like maybe a close second to the finale.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm in the midst of like performing in this scene, and I'm just like, it washes over me that I'm like, this was probably a really terrible idea to like cast myself in the most chaotic scene in the movie that I then cannot like watch as a director, like removed from it, you know? And I had a really great assistant director. She's got a
Right.
great eye. And like Chris and I made that decision because we were like, production, you know, we shot the movie in 12 days.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's like, if someone's going to need to be in that, let's call it a stunt situation to not give anything away.
Right.
We wanted it to be the two of us in control of that
Yeah.
situation, you know, because it was like a lot to ask of someone.
Just a little bit, especially on Chris's part.
Absolutely. Yes, yes. Now, I'm hoping this really entices people to go watch the movie. They're gonna be like, "Ooh, what are they talking about?
Exactly.
What happens?" Oh,
So I see that Eduardo Sanchez was a producer on this as well. Eduardo Sanchez, for people who should know who are listening to this, but who maybe you don't know, he's one of the co-directors of the Blair Witch Project. So was he involved on set or in any way like that?
So yeah, he visited set when we were shooting the finale. It was really nice, you know. He came in and said hey to everybody and told us all we were doing a great job and all that kind of stuff. And like, so it was nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Chris had worked with him on Lovely Molly.
Okay.
Chris had done some stuff on that movie. And so those two, you know, knew each other from that and had that relationship. So it was nice. It's like cool to like have that community and that world kind of like
Yeah.
keep coming back, you know? It's nice.
Yeah, and that's what I've heard too. I've seen that Sanchez has been very active in like helping to produce a lot of low budget independent features and help
Mhm.
others that were at the same point that he was back with Blair Witch and stuff. So it's always
Yeah,
nice to
yeah.
see that people in the horror community continue to kind of pay it forward in a lot of ways. You see that
Yeah.
even with somebody like Barbara Crampton who does a lot of
Oh my
that.
gosh, I know.
I
Yeah,
love
yeah.
Barbara Crampton. She's
Oh,
so
she's
good at
incredible. Yeah,
she's
she's
such a cheerleader
incredible.
for the horror
She
industry. So
truly, truly
yeah.
is. Like she is always out there. Like I'm not on Twitter anymore, but when I
Oh
was,
God.
I
Yeah.
just loved like seeing her post because it was always like she's always like so positive and lifting up other
Oh
people in
man.
the
Yeah.
community. And I'm just like, man, this is what everybody needs to be. You know, there's
Yeah.
room for everyone.
Yes.
We can like lift
Yeah.
each other all up, you
Yeah,
know?
and that's what I love so much about her. And like, because you see sometimes there are people who come into the horror industry and they use it kind of just as a stepping stone to something more, because that's their goal. They're only doing the horror movie to get to the next stage and everything like that.
Right.
And we've seen it with, people who are major Hollywood people and everything like that now. But I love when somebody like Barbara who has gone off to go do has gone off to do this secondary career in soap operas of all things,
Right.
and is like a big star in soap operas also, and then is also like this major figure in horror.
Yeah.
And I've talked about her on the podcast before. I'd love to get her on, but
Oh,
you know,
that'd be fantastic. Yeah.
but yeah, but so I just love that it's somebody like her, somebody like Eduardo Sanchez, people like that who've gotten these big, you know, statuses in the industry, and then also just are continuing to um, pay that forward and help people continue to get those movies made,
Oh my God.
especially on the independent level, because there's so
Oh,
much creativity and everything that's going
yeah.
on. So
Yeah, there really is. Like there's no lack of creativity and it's really just like the resources, you know? It's just whew. And this is the first time that Chris and I have made a movie with a studio, but
yeah.
otherwise like we're just producing everything ourselves and we're going back to that. In April, we're shooting a feature in 4 days
Oh, wow.
because he turns 40 and that's how he wants to market. So we are shooting a Thursday through a Sunday. We're gonna shoot a whole feature.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So
that's
we're in
fun.
we're deep in pre-production on that. So I'm co-producing that with him and then I'm playing one of the characters in it as well. So
It's awesome.
yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a challenge.
Yeah, it's real interesting. I think the independent film world is so interesting because like it is that like run and gun, just seat of your pants, doing things in 4 days. I mean, obviously there's a lot of pre-production stuff that you got to do and everything, like getting all that set up so that you can once you do get into the filming, that filming can go quickly.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. Like it's all
yeah,
about the planning. And I think, obviously the whole documentary conceit like really served us well in this because
yeah,
we need all the places to look real. It can't look like it's a set with like all the lighting that you would typically have,
right.
a narrative feature. Like it served us that we were like, no, we're just walking into a house and it's like you see the camera, you see the boom mic,
Yeah,
and it was fun, like planting those intentional moments, like just being like, no, you would see these things.
right.
Um, so that was a super fun little thing to do on purpose, all the things that
Right.
you typically try to avoid. But I wanted there to always be reminders that you were watching, quote unquote, a documentary.
Right.
Um, planting those little things, but having it, not having like everybody in makeup for like 3 hours because it's like everybody needs to look real. Like we're just walking
Yeah.
in and seeing real people. So I know my team, my two directors of photography, there were a lot of times where like they really wanted to keep like tweaking the lights and making everything perfect. And I'd be like, guys, this is not the style. Like, come on. Like, as you said, run and gun. Like you're following this woman, this house is not gonna be beautifully lit. It's just gonna be whatever lights are here.
Right. Well, and I'm sure, yeah, like if you're somebody who is a director of photography and you're used to doing stuff like that, you got to kind
Oh
of like
yeah.
there's a certain unlearning to be done with that as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but there's also that freedom, like you said, of like just being able to get the natural light and the just the regular locations. You don't have to set things up really, and
yeah,
it's just getting it done. And I love that aspect of it. It's something I've loved since Blair Witch Project.
yeah.
Just that naturalness of it, and that's what found footage is great for, especially found footage and mockumentary style filmmaking. Is just I really like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah, this uh, I just really enjoyed this movie. It looks like it was a lot of fun to make.
it was.
Sounds like it was a lot of fun to make.
It was.
Um, there's not a lot of special effects either. You guys did a lot of did a little bit of visual effects with some of the spirit stuff and everything like that. Was that done digitally or other film trickery?
Yeah, we had a little bit of digital stuff and then some practical stuff too, like, when all the papers are flying out of the file cabinet, it's our production designer and Chris like throwing papers around like on the floor and then someone with a shop vac shooting, we ripped out the
Yeah.
back file cabinet. It's a shop vac and papers and it's so funny to watch like certain takes of that scene because you just see their hands flying into the frame. There's no illusion there
It's
whatsoever.
all about careful editing, right?
Yeah. So, very it's when you don't have a lot of money, you just got to get really creative with how you're solving problems.
Yeah.
So it's fun. It really is. And it's also cool when you do have more money than you're used to having for a movie and like being able to like pay people and because a lot of times it's like very minimal where we'll be like, hey, you want to come be in our movie and like we can feed you and like maybe give you a couple $100, but
Right.
it's nice to say, oh, you'll have a day rate and it's
Yeah.
like we're all professionals, you
So,
know.
have you guys done any like crowdfunding? I not obviously for this movie since this was done through Dread. Like, but do you guys do crowdfunding for your other movies and such?
Yeah, typically we do. Yeah,
Okay.
and it's been pretty successful. And a lot of that is just like um people really love WNUF, like
Yeah.
really love it.
Yeah.
So like that I think has served us really well in that when we are crowdfunding, like people love that movie and we also have a track record of actually getting stuff done.
Yeah.
Like when we fund for a movie, like you are going to have that movie in your hands. Like it's
Yeah.
it's going to happen. So I think we've developed a reputation of like really following through and people can trust that when they are supporting something that we're doing that it is going to happen,
Yeah.
and it's going to happen the very best that we can possibly make it.
Right. Are you going to be crowdfunding the new one, the one that you're filming in 4 days?
No, so this one, we have funding for it. I'm not sure, I should have checked if I could like say, but we have funding for it. It's a pretty low budget, but it's designed to be, because it's
Right.
it's a model movie, in a couple of senses. In the traditional sense, where you've got one location, but it
Right.
also takes place at a distillery and is about a spirit tasting. It's called spirit tasting. It's just like puns upon puns upon word
Yeah.
plays upon word, you know.
I dig it. I love puns, so that works. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. Master. So yeah, it's called spirit tasting. It takes place at a distillery on New Year's Eve. It's kind of a take on Monkey's Paw.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
gonna be really,
I like
really fun.
that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
very cool.
That's
All
the next one. And we've got a couple of people returning from for sale. Um, and then people who from previous projects, it's always nice to kind of like put people in new
Yeah.
combinations. It's super
Yeah.
fun.
No, I dig that. I try to crowdfund some stuff whenever I hear about it and I've got the funds for it. So
Yeah, yeah.
um but yeah, I love when I actually really like when directors will reuse people and just kind of like, cycle them through and stuff like that. Like I'm a big fan of, even Tarantino and Kevin Smith and they use a lot of the same actors and stuff.
Oh
So
yeah. Yeah.
so I like that. I know there's some people who are just like, oh, same person is in this movie again. Like,
No,
okay,
I
but
love it.
I love
Almost like
that.
a little rep company, And
Yeah.
then it's too because you can start like Chris always asks people like, what's your dream role? Like
Yeah.
what you would love to play? And you can start playing with those ideas and writing stuff with people in mind and knowing that like half the battle of casting may be solved because you're always going to
Yeah.
stay open-minded and like have people read for stuff, but like, oh, I wrote this with this person in mind. I know they can come knock it out of the park unless somebody
Yeah.
else does.
Yeah.
So I love knowing when you've built a team that you can bring in and rely on.
Right. Well, and I feel like that owes a lot to also your theater background as well, too, because I'm sure that a lot of your theatrical performances utilized a lot of the same actors because it's largely going to be people from the same area and stuff like that who are coming in. Then you're going to be giving people somebody who had a main role last time is going to be in a background role next time, and it
Oh,
gives everybody that chance to kind of like play around and move about inside of it and stuff.
yeah.
That's why I love about it. It's just that you do have that it it's more like family and a lot more close knit, and I like that when
Right.
people can do that. So
Yeah, yeah. And people then it's like everyone's really invested in what you're doing.
yeah,
It was Because you're doing it collectively, and there's also a sense of appreciation that comes out of that, where it's like, everybody's got so much going on, but it is truly special when folks continue to believe in the kind of projects that we're doing and keep coming back to work with us. I
Yeah.
think that like just speaks to we're doing something right.
Yeah, no, it definitely speaks to you guys as filmmakers and creatives and stuff that you guys can engender that loyalty,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everybody coming back and
Yeah.
doing
And so
fun stuff like that. So
yeah, yeah. It's really cool.
yeah, um, trying to think if there's anything else that I can think of. Um, But yeah, I'll definitely have to check out your work as Aurora because that
Yeah,
looked
please
a lot of
do.
fun. I just saw a couple of quick snippets. I saw the trailer for the DVD, and I saw like a trailer, like a video for one of your live shows that you did like 7
Yeah.
years ago. So
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh.
yeah,
And I just shut down my Facebook, but I downloaded everything, including
okay,
all of my live streams. So I'm gonna start putting those up on YouTube and kind of like building
okay, yeah,
archive that I should have done like as I was doing them, but
right, yeah. It's a lot of work. I mean, I get it. Yeah.
it really is. I am terrible at like maintaining that like brand,
Oh
because
man,
it's
I'm
just, I
terrible at
have
my own self promotion.
it's awful. I realized that when I posted the trailer or like, the post about For Sale by Exorcist that I posted on my Aurora Instagram, I looked and I hadn't posted anything on there
I
since like
saw that.
November. I was
I
like, wow,
saw
you're
that.
really, really killing it. Really, really just here.
I was like, wow, she's about as prolific as I am.
I was doing really well for a while there, but then Chris and I went to Ireland in December, and so my life became consumed with like planning this 3-week trip, and then got back into the new year, and I was just kind of like, well, I'm not really doing anything with Shocktail Hour right now. What do I post? An old picture, So, but now that I'm going to start building this archive, we'll see. We'll see more from Aurora in the coming weeks.
It's good. That's good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely looks like it'll be a lot of fun. I'll have to check out more of that for sure. Especially, like you said, with the independent films that you featured on those and everything. That'll be a really cool way to again, kind of putting them back out on YouTube will like kind of put a big spotlight back on those films as well. So that'll be
Oh,
nice.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right. I honestly, I'm enjoying talking to you, but I can't think of anything else to ask directly about the movie itself. So I guess I should let you go and make sure you get a little bit of a break before your next one. So because I know you're doing a full day's worth
Really
of.
nice. It's been fun. It's been a good conversation. I really enjoy it. It's like I really love doing these podcasts, especially doing so many in one day and just
Yeah.
seeing the different little threads we pick up and the paths we go down. Because like there's always the things that we hit in every single one, but then
Right.
unpredictable there,
Yeah.
which is really fun. So everyone should listen to all of them.
Yes. Yes. Definitely. Well, I very much appreciate you coming on to mine and talking about the movie and everything. And everybody who's listening, definitely, if you haven't seen it already, definitely go check out For Sale by Exorcist. It's a really fun movie, and it's being put out by Dread and Epic Pictures.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. For Sale by Exorcist is out now on VOD, so make sure to check it out. Thanks for listening. Creepy and Geeky is produced and hosted by Robert Clark. If you like what you've heard, please consider giving the show 5 stars and a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And share the podcast on social media to help spread the word. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app or at creepyandgeeky.com. You can follow the podcast by going to creepyandgeeky.com and clicking on any of the social links. If you'd like to follow me, you can find my links at geekthulu.com. You can support the podcast by ordering teas and more on TeePublic or by donating to the coffee page. All of the links are in the show notes. Finally, don't forget, stay creepy.